All right, Ryan Wright, National Recruiting Analyst with Rivals here with Jed May from UGA Sports. We're here to talk Georgia. 2023 recruiting class, lots of fun stuff to talk about. Jed and I talk about it, seems like every day. Jed, how you doing today after yesterday?
Good. Yesterday for Georgia specifically, they had a lot of hay in the barn already. They added 3 commits yesterday, and all but a couple commits are already signed. And so yeah, it was a chaotic day yesterday. But now, um, most of the work in that 23 class is pretty much done.
I'll go countryism with you. So you got a lot of apples in the bushel barrel there, hay in the barn. They obviously closed really strong. I think 8 commits going down from November into December. Overall, what are your thoughts on the class? I mean, do you feel that Georgia addressed needs and did a good job? Not just talking about team rankings and stuff like that, but what are your overall thoughts on the class, top to bottom?
I mean, I think overall, when you look at what Kirby Smart has done, especially this cycle and last cycle, the defensive talent he has brought in is insane at really every position: defensive line, edge, inside linebacker, in the defensive secondary. It's just the stacking of talent on that side of the ball is insane. They added 2 5-star edge guys, in Samuel and Pimba and Damon Wilson. Gabe Harris kind of complements that group as well. Um, I mean, there were some misses. Every school has misses. They really went hard after 5-star safety Caleb Downs, missed on him, missed on in-state legacy running back Justice Haynes. So running back as a position, I think you could look to see them hit the portal maybe, or maybe if a guy pops up in January, February, like Andrew Paul did for them last year. But overall, I mean, you can't really complain too much about a number two ranked class. They didn't take a quarterback. They went all in on Arch Manning and missed, obviously, but the staff there feels like with what they currently have in the room and what they project to be in the room next year, they were in a position to go in all in on Arch Manning, and they'd be okay if they missed. So with what they're bringing in, and obviously the transfer portal stuff still coming up, it's another really good class.
So there can be a lot of movement. You just kind of alluded to maybe getting somebody in February like they did last year with the running back. So as things stand today, not trying to get the crystal ball out and project too far forward, but with the guys that they brought in based off of who may be leaving and stuff like that, looking at the 2023 season, which guys are in position maybe to have an impact as a freshman. And I'm not trying to say that they're or ask you if they're going to be all SEC or all American, but just that they are in a position of need and the talent fits the scheme where they could play right away.
Yeah, I think you got to look at those edge guys. Georgia is was a little thin at outside linebacker already this year, and then Nolan Smith went down with injury, and Robert Beal's been a little banged up later in the year, and there's talent behind those two guys, but not a whole lot of experience. So they will both be gone after this year. So when you look at Wilson and Pimba is still a little bit raw, but obviously super talented, and Gabriel Harris. I mean, those guys have got a chance to come in, especially as early enrollees, and make an impression in the spring and hit the field this fall. So it's going to be a wide open battle at that outside linebacker edge. Like Gabriel Harris could be a little bit more of a defensive end type, maybe, depending on what they want to do with him once he gets on campus. But it's those guys right there. I mean, rushing the passer is so important in modern college football. And Kirby Smart said this yesterday. He's like, we want to get that room back to what it's been in the past with future first round picks and talent and guys that can let us do different things defensively in different sub packages and things. And Wilson and Pimba and Harris and all those guys. And you look at last year with Darius Smith and Michael Williams and Marvin Jones, all those guys they've added in the past couple of classes are going to be battling for that playing time come spring.
Last question for you. So it's real easy for us to talk about the 5 stars. They garner all the attention. Are there any guys, doesn't have to be a 3-star, like a 4-star, like, Bo, offensive tackle, who I think has tremendous upside. He's got the frame. He had some weight on there. I mean, he could be a mauler, right? I mean, he's got the size, could end up being like a first round NFL draft pick type of dude. Are there any other guys that maybe the fans are overlooking that, like, hey, I really like this guy, even if he's outside of the Rivals 250?
Um, Let me think. I mean, I like Joshua my mind, I just thought of him as like a smaller guy, and then the signee announcements came in yesterday, and he was like 6'4", 320. I was like, oh, this guy has SEC size already. He's going to miss spring practice with he had surgery for a labor, but going down the line, he could be one of those guys that plays up and down the line, which would be huge. I mean, Chris Peel is a guy that's got plenty of versatility, can play all over the secondary. Kyron Jones is a guy who was committed to NC State at running back. Georgia was bringing him in as a defensive back, so I'm curious to see how that might work out. And on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, you look at these guys, Yazid Haynes and Anthony Evans, specifically. I know they're in the 250, but kind of in the bottom half. But the blazing speed that those guys have is hard to replicate. And when something like that, they could play an impact on offense, obviously, but in the return game as well. I mean, Georgia hasn't been super dynamic in the return game the past couple of years. So those guys will have an opportunity to come in and make an impact there as well.
Awesome. Well, Jed, thanks for running down everything with us today. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more recruiting news as we get closer to the National Signing Day, transfer portal, everything else that's going on. So thanks for taking time out and breaking everything down for us today.
Absolutely. Thanks. Anytime.